Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're diving into something that, might sound a little bit academic at first, social emotional learning or SEL.
SEL.
But stick with us because this isn't just for elementary school kids.
Yeah.
We're talking about real-world skills that can help you thrive in college and beyond. And to make things even more interesting, we're going to sprinkle in this concept of gamified flipped classrooms.
Ooh.
Yeah, think video games meet learning, but in a good way.
Uh-huh.
So no more boring lectures and, maybe even some friendly competition.
That's right. It's not just about, sharing and playing fair anymore. SEL in college is really about giving students the tools to understand their own emotions, manage stress, build healthy relationships, make responsible decisions, navigate all the complexities of university life.
So it's like equipping them not just to survive college, but to actually rock it.
Exactly. And the research backs it up. Students with strong SEL skills tend to do better academically. They have better mental health and they build stronger relationships, which, it's not just about feeling good. It's about setting them up for success in all areas of their lives.
Okay, you've got my attention.
Yeah.
So tell me more about these gamified flipped classrooms. Does this involve virtual reality headsets or fighting dragons? Or...
Not quite, although that does sound pretty fun.
Right.
Basically, a flipped classroom kind of turns the traditional model on its head. So instead of, sitting through lecture in class, students watch the lectures at home beforehand, kind of like binge watching their favorite show. And then they use class time for more interactive activities, discussions, things like that. And the gamification part, well, that's where we add in elements like points, leaderboards, challenge, all those fun things to keep students engaged and motivated.
So it's like no more dozing off during lectures. I mean, that sounds like a win-win for both students and professors. But how did they actually combine SEL with this gamified, flipped classroom approach? Did students suddenly become Zen masters acing every test with a smile?
Well, we didn't quite see any levitation or telekinesis, but the results were pretty impressive. This combination led to better learning outcomes, and it also improved emotional regulation and communication among the students. They reported feeling more prepared and confident, which led to better collaboration and, just a more positive learning environment overall.
Okay, so less stress and better grades. I'm officially on board. But what did these SEL activities actually look like in a university setting? I'm picturing mandatory trust falls and daily affirmations.
No trust falls were involved in this study.
Okay, good.
They use practical techniques like meditation breathing before class to help students focus and manage their emotions. So imagine starting each class with just a few moments of mindfulness to kind of center yourself and clear your mind.
That sounds way more effective than chugging coffee to deal with pre-class jitters. What else did they do?
They also emphasize giving compliments before feedback during group work. It might sound like a small thing, but it helped foster positive relationships and create a more supportive learning environment.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like setting a positive tone from the start, which can make a huge difference in how the group interacts. Do they have any other interesting techniques?
They ended each class with something called optimistic closures, where students focused on what went well and expressed gratitude. So imagine leaving each class feeling motivated and appreciative rather than drained and stressed.
Oh, I like that. A little dose of positivity to end the day. This research was done in Vietnam, right? But we're talking about universal student struggles here. Can this SEL magic work for students everywhere?
Absolutely. What's really key here is that SEL isn't treated as some standalone program. It's woven into the learning process itself. It becomes part of the classroom culture, influencing how students interact with the material, their peers, even themselves. It's like integrating a cheat code for success right into the game of college.
Yeah.
But instead of just leveling up your character, you're leveling up your life skills too.
Okay, I love that analogy.
Yeah.
But let's talk more about this gamification aspect. What did that actually look like in practice? Were students earning points for showing up to class on time?
Not quite, although punctuality is always a good thing.
Sure.
They actually used a system of experience points and a leaderboard, kind of similar to what you might see in, video games. Students could earn points for completing those pre-class videos, participating in discussions, acing quizzes, things like that.
So it's like a fitness tracker for your brain. But instead of steps, you're racking up knowledge points and competing with your classmates.
Exactly. And that element of friendly competition can be a really powerful motivator. But it's important to note that it wasn't about, turning learning into some mindless game. The points in the leaderboard were just tools to enhance engagement and help students track their progress.
I can see how that could make things a lot more fun and motivating, especially for those of us who thrive on a little healthy competition.
Exactly.
It's like those loyalty programs that give you stars for buying coffee. Suddenly you're way more motivated to reach that next reward tier, even if it's just for bragging rights.
That's a great analogy, and that's exactly the kind of psychology behind gamification. It's about tapping into those intrinsic motivators that make us tick. Now, you might be wondering, did they use any specific tools or platforms to make this happen?
Okay, spill the tech secrets. What's the recipe for this SEL-infused gamified learning experience?
Well, for the flipped classroom part, they used Edpuzzle. It's a platform where you can create interactive videos, embed questions, track student engagement, so no more zoning out during lectures.
Edpuzzle is making sure you're paying attention.
Exactly. And for the gamification aspect, they designed a pretty simple system with experience points and a leaderboard, which, could be easily implemented using various online tools or even a basic spreadsheet.
So even if you're not a tech wizard,
Yeah.
you can still create this engaging learning environment. That's encouraging. But let's shift gears a bit and talk about the emotional regulation piece of the puzzle. I mean, college is already a roller coaster of emotions between exams and deadlines and social dramas. It's basically a recipe for stress.
Yeah, you're not wrong. And that's where SEL comes in. This study actually measured emotional regulation using two factors, reappraisal and suppression.
Okay, hang on. Break that down for me. What do those fancy terms actually mean?
So reappraisal is basically about reframing a stressful situation in a more positive light. It's like looking at the glass half full. For example, instead of freaking out about an upcoming exam, you might reappraise the situation and think, okay, this is a chance to show what I've learned and challenge myself.
So it's about turning that negative energy into something more productive.
Exactly. Now, suppression, on the other hand, is about bottling up those emotions. Not exactly a healthy coping mechanism. Imagine you're having a conflict with a group project member, but instead of addressing it, you just suppress your feelings and hope it goes away.
Okay, so reappraisal is like, okay, this is tough, but I can handle it.
Yeah.
And suppression is like, nope, not dealing with this, shoving it down deep.
You got it. And guess what? The study found that the SEL-infused classroom led to a significant reduction in suppression. Students were better equipped to actually process their emotions in a healthy way, leading to better mental well-being and more positive interactions with their peers.
So they were learning not only how to ace their exams, but also how to navigate the ups and downs of college life without losing their cool. That's huge. Did they look at anything else besides emotional regulation?
They also looked at communication and collaboration tendencies, which are, crucial skills for success in college and beyond. I mean, think about it. From group projects to study sessions, you've got to be able to work together effectively.
Yeah.
And good communication is at the heart of that.
Absolutely. So what did they find? Did these SEL superstars become like master communicators and collaborators?
Well, the study showed that the SEL enhanced classroom significantly boosted students' communication tendencies. They were more willing to share their ideas, actively listen to others, engage in meaningful conversations,
So less awkward silence and more productive brainstorming. I can see how that would lead to better learning outcomes and a more enjoyable classroom experience overall. What about collaboration tendencies? Did they see any improvements there?
That's where things get a little more nuanced. They didn't actually see a statistically significant impact on collaboration tendencies, but it's important to consider the context. Both groups were already engaging in a lot of collaborative activities due to the nature of the, gamified, flipped classroom.
So they were already collaborating at a pretty high level, leaving less room for improvement.
Exactly. It's like trying to improve the free throw percentage of a basketball player who already shoots 99% from the line. It's a ceiling effect. But even though there wasn't a statistically significant change, the qualitative data actually revealed some interesting insights. They conducted interviews with the students to get a deeper understanding of their experiences.
Okay, let's hear it. What were the students saying about this whole SEL gamified flipped classroom thing? Did it live up to the hype?
Well, the students were really positive about the whole experience. They mentioned feeling, much more prepared for class thanks to those pre-class videos. And they felt like the SEL activities really helped them manage their emotions and concentrate better.
So less stress, more focus. Sounds like everyone wins.
Exactly. And they also talked about how the collaborative environment helped them overcome obstacles and, build stronger relationships with their classmates.
That's awesome. It's amazing how these small changes to how we learn can make such a big difference.
You know what really struck me? It wasn't just about better grades or, acing tests. This study was about creating a more holistic and supportive learning experience for these students.
Yeah, I like that. Supporting their emotional well-being alongside their academic growth. That's important.
Absolutely. Students are more than just, brains in jars. We need to acknowledge their social and emotional needs to help them reach their full potential.
This deep dive has been so eye-opening. It makes you think about all the other cool ways we could be learning and teaching out there. What stood out to you the most?
Hmm. I think the biggest takeaway for me is the importance of integrating SEL into the learning process. It shouldn't be a separate program. It should be woven into the fabric of how we learn. And as for the gamification piece, it's not about, turning classrooms into arcades. It's about using those natural motivators to make learning more engaging and fun.
I totally agree. I'm also fascinated by the potential of these techniques to make college less stressful and, improve mental well-being. It's a time that can be really tough for a lot of students.
Absolutely. And it makes you wonder what could happen if we started incorporating these principles earlier in education. The possibilities are huge.
That's a great point and a perfect note to leave our listeners on. If you could take one thing away from this deep dive and use it in your own learning or teaching, what would it be? Keep those brain gears turning, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.